Good morning, everyone. This is Depelsha Magruder. Welcome to the Mob United biweekly call. I want to thank you all for joining this morning. If someone can just send me a message if you can't hear me clearly, so I'll know. But first, we just want to kick off the call with an inspirational quote by Nashiva Star. And don't forget to star 6.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh,
You're ready
okay,
for
great.
the inspirational quote. Can you hear me?
For you, yes.
Okay, we're ready for the inspirational quote to start the call. She may be having some technical difficulties, so I'll move on to share a little bit about the organization's purpose and mission. And that's if you can go to the next page.
Hello? Oh, wow. Just got Hello?
Yes, Nashiva Star, can you hear?
Oh my gosh, I'm talking to you guys and no one's listening. No, I thought you guys didn't hear me.
Okay.
I am so sorry. So the quote for this morning is just sort of let me just get to it. The quote is, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." It's from George Bernard Shaw. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. It's okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on, I just want to share a little bit about the mission and purpose of the organization, particularly for those of you who are first-time callers. So Mob United is actually comprised of 2 different organizations. One is Moms of Black Boys United, and the other is Mob United for Social Change. In Moms of Black Boys United, the purpose is to provide information and support for moms of Black sons while also promoting positive images of Black boys and men. Mob United for Social Change is our advocacy arm, which aims to influence policy that impacts how Black boys and men are treated by law enforcement and in society. So another way to say this is that the purpose of the first organization is really to focus on what we can do, what we should do as parents to be better advocates, to equip ourselves and our sons with the right information and access to opportunities, and also to promote all of their accomplishments and aspirations. And the second part, Mob United for Social Change, is really about holding public officials accountable and holding the system accountable on what it should do to make sure that if we do our part, they're doing their part to make sure our boys are safe and protected equally under the law. So that's the top line about who we are. Going to the next page, we have a 5-point approach to how we do this. Number 1, we want to influence policy, so that's really the advocacy piece. Number 2, we want to change perception, and that's really about countering all the negative images you see of Black boys and men in the news with positive images, because a big part of the issue is that people just have a negative perception in their mind of who our sons are. So we want to flood the media, flood social media with positive images and stories about who we are and who our sons are.
Yes, baby.
Number 2, can you mute everyone on the call, Vanessa? Number 3, we want to demonstrate our power, and that's both politically and economically. So going to the ballot box and also going to the cash register to support those who support us and not support those who don't. Number 4, we want to partner strategically with like-minded individuals and organizations. And number 5 is critically important. We want to promote self-care, and that's about making sure that we have fuel for the fight and that we're able to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, et cetera, as we go along this journey, which is very important because we won't make it otherwise. So that's a little bit about who we are, and with that, I will start with the first committee update.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we do.
Great. Good morning again, guys. Sorry about the quote. I wanted to start off the quote with just highlighting the growth that Mob United and Mob United for Social Change is going through, and wanted to encourage us to, in order to grow with the organization, that we are we allow ourselves the freedom to shift our mindset, to shift and to allow ourselves to feel comfortable with change. And so that's where the quote was starting from, and I kept muting and unmuting myself, so I apologize about that. And in encouraging us to understand the power of quotes and what quotes can do, we are collecting quotes on why you are a member of Mob United and Mob United for Social Change. And so I'm asking you if you would like to share with us why you are a member of these two powerful organizations that are on cause to change society and change things that are going on in our society. And I would like to encourage you to submit your quote to why you are a member of Mob United. You can email me at healwell@mobunited.org. Again, mobunited.org, and we'd love to hear the amazing things that you guys are sharing with us. You can go on to the next slide, please. In addition, I'm really excited to inform you all that the Prayer and Meditation Subcommittee has recently started our meditation calls. Our meditation lead is Shira Hall, and we started it last week, Sunday. So every Sunday at 8:30 Eastern, we will be doing our meditation calls. The meditation calls are 30 minutes, with 20 minutes being the active meditation and sort of 5-minute lead-in and sort of to close out. So if you are interested in joining us, we would love to have you on that call. Again, it's at at 8:30 Eastern Domestic Time on Sundays. And our final slide, please. And lastly,
over here.
Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh, okay, great. And is Alicia joining us today? Alicia Grace, is she on? So I'm going to pass.
I'm not sure if she's on. I hope she is, but just for context, on our calls, we like to highlight people who have been contributing greatly to the organization. We are an all-volunteer-based organization, so everyone in the organization is a mom of a black son who are dedicating their time, lots of time, since last July, solely because they care so much about this mission and because it's very personal for them. So everyone has their own story about how they ended up here and what connects them to the mission, but there are lots of women who are dedicating lots and lots of time to build this organization from the ground up while also handling all of their other responsibilities, you know, jobs and children and everything else they're a part of. So on this week's call, we would like to highlight Alicia Michelle Grace, who is in Houston, Texas, and she is a leader in the merchandise and membership area. And Alicia is a very dedicated member of Mob United. She has contributed in so many ways, not just in these areas, but beyond. And we just want to take a minute to say thank you, and we love you, and we appreciate all that you do. So congratulations to Alicia Michelle Grace.
Thanks, Satosha. That's it for Healthy Moms, Mob Care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So up next, we have our policy committee, which is led by Delicia Reynolds-Hand. Delicia, don't forget to star 6. Delicia is sending notes that she's, it says it's unmuted, but we're not able to hear her for some reason, so let's just give it another try.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Great.
Hi, apologize, everyone. Good morning, everybody. So what I'm going to do for policy this morning is just give a high-level readout on some of the initiatives that we have been driving for the past few weeks. So we started the spring with a state legislative campaign where at the start of the different legislative seasons all across the country, we tried to look for initiatives that align with our mission, specifically ones where there are progressive reforms going on in different states, but at the same time also trying to identify harmful measures which might impact our sons and boys. We've been active in a number of states, and thankfully, due to some of our work, we've been able to join in, and some of the initiatives have passed. So, for example, in New York, we've been active in Raise the Age campaign. That initiative has passed, so we continue to be involved in a few other states, both in tracking what's happening in the different legislatures, but also trying to be responsive as an organization through advocacy and other forms of support to the issues as they arise. So I'm just going to give a quick recap. First, in Michigan, as you might all be aware, on March 24th, police officers encountered 5 youth between ages 12 and 14. And they were coming from a basketball game, minding their own business, but they did a profile. And they were pulled over by a police officer, guns drawn, etc. You'll hear more details later. We've been in touch with the family as well as other advocates on the ground in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and have organized a call to action to try to bring more attention to the issue, but also to communicate directly with policymakers, specifically the mayor, city manager, also the chief of police who's elected by the city commission, and we joined in with other organizations to specifically ask for certain reforms. So our ask includes that the city commission include us on the agenda. So specifically that they address this issue front and center. They address it also proactively. Community members have shown up, but we want the commission to actually respond to the community and explain how it is that they intend to address this issue, but also how they continue to work with the community in general towards systemic reform. So that is our role in Michigan. We've also been involved in Texas in a few ways. In the legislature, there's been a Raise the Age proposal similar to the proposal in New York. There was a hearing on the Raise the Age proposal about a week ago. We've also been following the Sandra Bland Act. In short, the Sandra Bland Act is a criminal justice reform package. There are 2 proposals. So originally we were following the Coleman proposal in the House side. That proposal hasn't really advanced. It's been shifted to we shifted to the Senate side, which is not the same as the House bill, has moved to the Senate committee voted that bill out of committee and out of continue to support and encourage.
Delicia, excuse me, I'm hearing a bad echo.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same as well. I'm not sure. Is it better now? I haven't done anything different.
Oh, you didn't move? Okay.
Is it? I'm hearing the same echo. Has someone else gone off of mute? I'll just try and continue. Apologize. Just 2 more things. So we continue to push on in Texas. Additionally, in Texas, as you're aware, in Ball Springs, Texas, Jordan Edwards, 15 years old, was shot and killed by a police officer. Almost immediately, thanks to our events and demonstrations chair, we were connected to the attorney involved in the situation. And we quickly mobilized and put together a call for action. Specifically, members have been calling officials involved, both the mayor as well as the chief of police, both in Ball Springs and in Dallas. Our specific asks there have been that they release the camera footage to the family, that the officer be fired, also that the officer be charged after an independent and thorough investigation. And we also ask for the police involved in the situation, the chief of police and the sheriff, to acknowledge wrongdoing in the situation. Pleased to report that 3 out of our 4 asks have actually been met. So we're pivoting to ask for a swift and transparent prosecution. So now that the officer has been charged with murder and arrested, we need to continue to put pressure on to ask for a swift and transparent prosecution of the officer. And we still would like the images of what occurred to be released to the family. Longer term, we're asking for Balch City Police Department to review their training procedures and implement racial bias and de-escalation training. In California, we have been following a number of initiatives, one of which, one that continues to be live, is something called a non-financial bail reform bill. How is this relevant to our mission? So for any of you familiar with the Khalif Browder story, his mother could not afford the $900 bail to get him out of jail, but for that, he may still be alive. So these provisions, this kind of legislation would basically get rid of monetary bail and use other forms of collateral, in many instances just the accused person's word and the threat of rearrest. But it would get rid of the monetary requirement of bail. 4 jurisdictions across the country currently have non-monetary bail systems, and they've all been successful. There's no correlation between one's ability to pay for bail and, either committing serious crimes or going out and committing additional crimes. So we're watching that proposal in the California legislature, and we will put out a call for action if there's an opportunity to weigh in there. Lastly, we've been watching a series of different proposals in Louisiana. Specifically, there's been a criminal justice reform package as well as a prison reform package that's been going through. This week and last week, a number of the bills associated with that package were heard in different committees. Some of them were marked up. Some of them were stripped back. Overall, we feel like the proposals continue to advance the mission and in a positive way, that they make improvements to the criminal justice system in Louisiana, which is also known as the incarceration capital of the world. It has a significant disproportionate impact on Black men and boys as a result. So we'll continue to support those initiatives and hopefully move them towards passage into law. One of them, by the way, was a death penalty proposal, which would have gotten rid of the death penalty in Louisiana. And so that has moved. Lastly, this week, the Department of Justice announced that they did not find any fault in the officers who were involved in the Alton Sterling case. The way they handled it was overall inappropriate and also just a finding in and of itself. So what we'll be doing as an organization is putting out a statement really focusing on the DOJ's decision and continuing to put pressure locally on officials in Louisiana to make sure that those officers are brought to justice. So those are just some of the things that we continue to focus on. If there are things happening in your state, please contact us, policy@mobunited.org. We'd love to know what's happening in the state, especially if it's relevant to the mission, and we'd love to be supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Delicia. And sorry about the technical difficulties. If everyone can just remember to mute yourselves or stay on mute, because everyone should be muted now who's not speaking. But just as an extra precaution, if you can just use the mute button on your personal phone, that will ensure that we don't have background noise. Okay?
Good morning, Mom.
Chris Boland. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you guys for joining us as well and taking time out your day. As Delicia had mentioned in policy, we have a lot that we are mobilizing on. A couple of the initiatives that the call center has been participating is the Grand Rapids, Michigan case. We are still making calls to those officials. Our ask has slightly pivoted, as Delicia mentioned, but we do need more moms to participate. We want to make sure we keep the pressure on the city officials and also get moms involved on the ground level at Michigan. So if you are interested in participating in Grand Rapids, Sandra Bland Act, the Louisiana Criminal Justice Reform, or the Blanche Springs, Texas situation in regards to our dear Jordan Edwards, just 15 years old, please email the call center at mobunited.org and register at our website, www.mobunited.org, to join us as a member so that you can participate. Activism starts with the letter ACT. And that's what we're asking everyone to do. Change is only going to happen, mothers, is once we stand up and we say no more. Thank you. And with that, I ask everyone that's on the phone listening, as well as everyone that's dialed in, as I mentioned with our dear baby, and I say our dear baby because all the boys are our sons. Not just my son, your son, it's all our sons. Jordan Edwards' family did today. They are going to be laying him to rest. We are thankful that the officer, Ray Oliver, has been charged with murder for his death, but we were able to have moms that participated in a candlelight vigil on May 4th. And they also were invited by the Edwards family attorney, Mr. Lee Merritt, to come and participate. They were the only organization that was invited to participate in the press conference by the family, and I'm appreciative that several moms from the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter were able to attend. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you would like to participate on the ground level, please touch base. Email, register at www.mobunited.org to join that chapter. We need all moms on deck. And with that, we are mothers, and our mission is that our boys will not be forgotten. I ask everyone to please take 15 seconds for a moment of silence. You know, this young man, he was cut down at the age of 15. And if we could just take 15 seconds of a moment of silence and honor him and his life. He did have dreams. And with Mob United, we will continue to fight. And with that, I ask everyone to just bow their heads in silence for Jordan Edwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And that is a perfect segue for the discussion we're going to have today. which is a difficult conversation on how we should be talking to our sons about interactions with law enforcement. And we have some people on the call who are going to help us walk through that, because I honestly don't know what to say personally myself. So with that, I will turn it over to Kamari Gafoor Davis, our Chair of Education and Engagement, who is going to lead the conversation. Kamari?
Can you ladies hear me?
Yes, we do.
Morning. Thank you so much, Chris. Today on the call we have Jaquetta Sims and Aikisha Quinn, who are two of the moms from the Michigan 5 Grand Rapids incident, where the 5 boys were ages 12 to 14 were on their way home from playing basketball and were held at gunpoint and were detained for mistaken identity on March 24th. We've had a lot of that information up on the Facebook page, and we also have on the call today Sanya Gragg, who is the author of Momma, Did You Hear the News? And Sanya is a wife, mother, and author. We're so excited to have these ladies on the call, and part of the reason why we are having these ladies on the call is because we want to make sure that moms know what we can do and how we can work together to keep our boys safe. Sanya is passionate about working with inspiring kids. She holds degrees from Memphis with a BA in marketing, Georgia State with an MS in sports administration, and University of Southern California. She holds an MSW. She's also enjoyed writing. She's committed to using her talents to make a difference in the lives of others. The talk today is a conversation that nearly all African-American parents have to have with their children, more specifically our sons. And now, because she has written this book to help facilitate that important conversation, we as moms have even more resources and tools so that when we have this conversation, we can cover a lot of info so that we can prepare our kids to go out into the world. So my first question to Sanya and the moms, are you guys there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can.
And we also, I'm sorry, Kamari, we also have the third mom, Sean Moore, on the phone. So it is a blessing that we actually have had all 3 moms be on with us today.
Awesome.
Thank them for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me know, Chris. So first I want to start with Sanya. And you said the third mom's name is Sean? Okay. All right, so first we're going to start with Sanya. Why did you write the book, Momma? I love the title. Momma, Did You Hear the News?
Did you hear the news? Yeah. Can you hear me, Kamari? Thank you.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, and thanks to the moms who are on the call and all the moms who are on the call as well. And this book, or the idea for the book, actually came to me, believe it or not, in my prayer closet. And I believe when something comes to you in your prayer closet, you got to go with it. I was a school social worker, and like a lot of school systems across the country, a lot of jobs were eliminated, and my job was one of those. So I found myself in my prayer closet trying to decide what my next steps were going to be. And that's when the idea to write a book about kids and law enforcement came to me. And I knew this was a conversation that was taking place with all Black families. But, you know, I never really considered myself an activist or one to speak out on these types of incidents. But I'm a mom, and I knew that all my mom friends were having this conversation. And so I felt really strongly that this was something that I needed to do. And it was crazy because about a week after I got this revelation, the Terrence Crutcher incident happened right here where I reside in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so I found myself again having the talk with my boys, who we had been having the talk for years. At this point they were 19 and 15. But I found myself having the talk with them again. You know, what do you do in this situation? But that was really my confirmation and the reason why I decided to move forward and write the book.
That is so awesome. So what is the concept behind the book? I love how you came up with the idea in your prayer closet. I love that.
Yeah.
I have a prayer wall.
Me too. Me too.
And what is your concept behind the book?
I mean, the concept, I guess, really, I wanted to find a way to introduce this. I mean, it's a very serious subject, but I wanted to be able to introduce it in a way that young kids could understand. But at the same time, I didn't want them to walk around and be terrified of the police. So it was a very fine line when I was, pulling this all together, because I wanted to make kids aware, but at the same time, I didn't, again, want them to just be totally fearful of the police. So I came up with a catchy way for kids to remember what to do. And I thought this would be good just from my experience working with kids. If something has a catchy tune or a song or a dance, they are more likely to remember it and more likely to be engaged with it. Because really at the end of the day, my biggest fear was just that kids would be approached by police and not remember what to do, that they would forget. So I thought if I could come up with a catchy way for them to remember it, that would be helpful, because I think even in that moment, I've been driving for years, as most of us have been, and so I know that if I get pulled over, I get anxious and I get nervous. But if you have this thing ringing in your head, and for me it was A to the L to the IVE, come home alive, that is the key. I just wanted them to be able to remember the 5 things that they need to do. And another thing I wanted to stress is to come home alive. That's the main objective. You may want to argue, you may want to debate, and what I tell my boys is, try to get that badge number if you can, but at the end of the day, as a mom, I need you to walk back through that door. I need you to get home alive.
Right, exactly. I definitely understand that. So Aikisha, Jaquetta, and Sean, I wanted to ask you guys, did you face the same fears? And did you discuss those fears with your boys before the incident? If each of you could answer. And identify yourself before you start speaking.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, we've had the talks before. It wasn't really detailed talks. We were just letting them know what was going on. And I've always told them that's my biggest fear. We always instilled in them they have to check in, if they're at a game and we're not attending, if they're at the Croc or any situation, the mall with friends, the movies, hey, we need you guys to check in. This is what's going on. We are dealing with a difficult time with our youth. We are dealing with a difficult time with our men in the city. And I told them time and time again that, as young black men, it's unfortunate, but we have to carry ourselves as black people in a whole totally different manner. The things that you see your white friends do, you can't do those things. You have to always keep yourself up. You have to always be respectful, because they judge us differently, and I've always told my boys that. Mm-hmm. But since the conversation we've had since the 24th of March has geared us a little differently, because now they have a lot more questions. We basically gave them a little. Now we have to actually talk to them in detail of why this happened. And our boys have said they should have ran, and we told them the same thing that you guys did that day, y'all do again, because running will make you guys seem guilty, and that's something that we don't never want to happen, because that will lead into something as of death or going to jail and different things like that. And they would ask those questions of why if they didn't have anything, why did that happen to them? And I went back to the whole, they were labeled. They were labeled because they were black boys walking, because of the color of their, because of who they are. And of course, they still don't quite understand, when you say the color of your skin. And my 9-year-old asked that question. He was like, Mom, what you mean? And I was like, because
some people look at us differently. They look at you guys as though y'all are older than what y'all are. They fear us because we're strong.
And yes, exactly. I
mean by
completely. If we can have some of the other moms also jump in. And who was that was just speaking, just so I know we can decipher who was speaking just now?
Hi, this is Sean. How are you guys? Yep, I feel the same way Jaquetta feels. You know, she really spoke all of the words that we all wanted to say. You know, we try to teach our boys to know the way the world is going on today, but it is sad that we have to say to them, you know, you can't do what your white friends are doing. That is sad, you know, that's really sad, and I feel like that's the part, you know, we all need to come work on. Everybody do, but it's sad that we can have one group of people working on it and another group of people that's totally against it at the same time, so our boys is like totally confused, you know, about what's going on. So it's a big, you know, big, I don't know how to say it. It's just really hard to deal with growing up. I got 4 boys, 18 years old, 14, and I got one turned 13 today, and a 7-year-old. So I'm trying to just prepare them all for what's coming. That's all.
And you had the same kind of conversations before the incident as well?
Yes, but I didn't have it as much because we never had, you know, those type of problems. We never had to deal with it in our home like that, you know. So they knew. I'm glad they knew what to do. But my son was one of the ones that was saying, you know, he was scared. He was going to run. So I'm glad he didn't.
I understand. And the last mom, I didn't know who was speaking first, but that
was Jaquetta.
That was Jaquetta. So Akeisha, if you can chime in.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Good. Yeah, you know, for me, I travel a lot, right? I'm always on the road with my boys doing basketball things, and, you know, that's my way of trying to keep them off the streets or in mind of what's, you know what I'm saying, what's coming to us.
Right.
You know, because I don't want, you know, anything to happen to them. Like, you know, then, you know, on our road trips, we talk or whatever. I tell them things like, you know, just keep them positive, like a positive mind, positive thinking, like, this is what y'all need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep yourself busy, keep yourself in sports, go to school, do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
When the incident,
So how old was your son when you first started talking to him?
How old?
How old? Yeah.
About 10.
Okay. And what about you, Jaquetta and Sean? How old were your boys when you first started talking to them about how to deal with the police, how society views them?
Well, honestly, my oldest is 18, and so I didn't, back in his ages, when he was this age, I didn't, it wasn't that bad. We didn't have those kind of problems. I was a little younger, so my eyes wasn't really open to everything that was really going on in this world. And, my other two, Skylar, which is, the one that this happened to on the 24th, him and my one that turned 13 today, they're both very close in age. So we talk, about a lot with them two and the older one, together. But honestly, my 7-year-old, I haven't talked with him about any of it. He just sees what's going on, and he's like, okay, well, turn the cartoons on. He's not hip yet. So I talk with my older boys now, and I would say they're 13 and 14 and 18. I probably started when my 18-year-old was maybe 13.
Right.
Yep.
It was different. You felt like it was different in your community then than it is now. Right.
It was it wasn't that bad. Like I said, I didn't have a real reason to discuss it with my boys,
now because we didn't have nothing like this affect us like that, you know.
Right. Because now things have changed. Things have changed now.
Right. Now things have changed. And so,
you know, it's more heated now. The community's more heated now.
And I'm glad, and I'm glad that they're of age now, so where when we talk and they have feedback, you know, they have things that they want to say to me because they hear about it, they're learning, they understand it more now. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of, it makes it a little better when dealing with my boys and talking with them about what's going on, you know, in the world these days. But I just fear when my 7-year-old gets up there, I hope it's all changed because I hate that.
I understand. So, Sanya, I want to get back to you. What age did you have the conversation with your son? And what age do you think is a good age to have that conversation with our sons?
And that's tricky. And I think that was Jaquetta that was just speaking. And I'm in the same boat as her because my oldest is 20. And so we probably didn't have that talk with him until he was 12 or 13. So this is 7-8 years ago. And I think we're having this discussion much younger. You've got social media, so these kids see everything that's going on. They hear about, they hear about everything that's going on. And so our first talk with him was, and another mom was saying this, you're going to be viewed differently. And so it was just really about, you know, looking into his little brown eyes, and he's looking at us like, I don't understand, but saying to him, you're going to be judged differently than your white friends that you play with in the neighborhood. It's going to be different when you're running, you know, playing hide and go seek, and it's starting to get dark. You are going to be looked at differently. So having that conversation was very difficult 7 or 8 years ago, but I think now, because kids are just, you know, they're savvy and they're on social media and just the news is running 24 hours, they're seeing it. And so that was one of the reasons, again, I decided to write the book where children could understand it, because I think we're having this conversation much sooner. I mean, even, and I was talking to my husband the other day, you know, when he had this talk, because it's been going on for decades, we've been having this conversation, but when he had this talk with his mom, or his mom gave a talk to him, it was right before he started driving, because you didn't really think about it until you're thinking about your kid getting pulled over, you know, once they're 16 years old and can drive. But now, as Michigan moms have proven to us, now just walking through the neighborhood, they have got to know what to do. And thank God they didn't run. Thank God they did, you know, put their hands up and lay down, because it could have been a very tragic situation. So, yeah, I think the conversation is happening younger and younger.
Yes, it is. And I totally agree with you, because even when my oldest was 24, it was the same thing for him. Like, we didn't have that conversation with him at all until he started driving, and we knew that he would be, like, you know, driving through the community or driving out of the community. That's when we finally had that conversation. But we didn't feel like we had to have a conversation with him when he was really, really young. Now we're talking to our 9-year-old, like, you know, like about all the time. So, so Sanya, I want to move on and ask, what is the Memorize the 5?
So the 5 things I came up with, and you can go to that screen that has all 5 of them. The chant is A to the L to the I-V-E, come home alive. That is the key. And so each letter stands for something. The A stands for always use your manners. And that's just, you know, we already teach our kids to just have common courtesy, to be polite. But when you're dealing with the police, you can't have that attitude. My boys are very, you know, they know how to be polite, but they can also give you some attitude. And I tell them, you have to be respectful. You have to respect that badge. Sometimes, unfortunately, even if they're not respecting you, because, again, at the end of the day, I need you to get home alive. We'll deal with everything else later. And so the L stands for listen and comply. And that's just telling them, just do what this police officer is telling you. Again, you know, don't debate or argue. This could be a life or death situation. I need you to get home. The I stands for in control. And this is, again, just telling them to be in control of your emotions. Try to stay calm. Try to stay cool. Speak low. Don't yell. Don't scream. But just really be in control of your emotions. The V, and when I came up with this, I was really trying to find a way for the V to be first. But the V is for visible hands always. Make sure they see your hands. You can't be reaching in your pocket. You can't be reaching back in the back seat. They need to see your hands open palmed if possible. And I just, again, try to stress to them that could be the most important thing and the one to always remember. And then the last one is E, and that's explain everything. And this was just to tell them, you can't make sudden movements. If your ID is in your back pocket, you need to explain to the officer, sir, my ID is in my back pocket. Is it okay for me to reach? Or, my title and registration is in my glove box. Is it okay for me to reach over? And even in the book, I think I made it a little extreme, but I wanted to get my point across. And I say no sudden movements ever. Don't reach, don't grab, don't sneeze. And so I thought that was a little extreme, but I just wanted them to understand, you don't even want to sneeze. And I read this book to some second graders a couple of weeks ago. And so it was funny, but it was also sad. And a little kid raised his hand and he said, Miss Sanya, is it okay? Can we cough? And it made me sad, like I wanted to cry right in that moment, but I understood that he got it. He saw that it was very important that he does not do anything sudden. And so, again, I just wanted to lay out these 5 things in a way that they could remember, but also in a way that was palatable for young kids to understand. So those are the 5, to memorize the 5.
Yes, and I totally agree with everything that you're saying because, as a parent, it's so frustrating, even for myself, with my oldest son, like we tell him, when you get in the car, put your wallet and your phone on the seat beside you. Just don't even have it inside of a glove compartment. Don't even have to reach for anything. Just have it right beside you. And we also told him that if you soon as you see the lights, you call me. Like don't wait until he gets to the car to call me. Call me as soon as you see the lights behind you.
Right.
Just in case, because we've had cases where the cop is like, you're not calling your mother. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So just, as soon as you see the lights, call me. Put me on speaker so they know I'm there with you, so, because it's so frustrating because you feel like no matter what you do, you still can't protect your child. You still don't know what to say, how to approach situations. And even when it's a situation where you're like, you know what, do everything you possibly can do correctly, we still have children who are getting killed. So what are some of your frustrations even after writing the book?
Oh, that's the biggest one, because I know in my heart and in my mind that kids can do everything that I have listed, and it can still be an unfortunate situation. And we know this because innocent kids are being killed every day. And so I can't look a kid in the eye and say, yes, if you do all of these things, you're going to get home safely. He can do all of these things and still run into a cop who means no good for him. And that, for me, is definitely the most frustrating part, because I know they can do everything right and still. So.
Right, exactly. So I wanted to ask the moms, Akeisha, Sean, and Jaquetta, how have the boys been affected since the incident in March? If you each can just introduce yourself so that we know who's talking.
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure, of course. How have your boys been affected since the incident in March? And any other concerns that you have now? And if you can just let me know who's speaking so that we all know who's talking when you start speaking.
This is Jaquetta. We're sitting on our porch. We've been having some nice sunny days out here. And here lately, in the area that I stay in, we've been hearing a lot of sirens. We've been having a lot of, things going on down here. So they have a basketball court in our yard, in our driveway, where they'll be outside, they're playing basketball. Just the interaction when they're actually in the middle of a basketball game outside our outside our house. If a siren comes down, they stop. They don't continue their game. They're looking around, where they're going, where they at. And me and my husband was standing outside, and he was like, "Did you see that?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that."
Wow.
It's kind of crazy, and it may sound a little odd, but we're a lot closer now as a family. Like it's questions coming out of everywhere. They want to be more open to have conversations. normally my boys want to be outside. They want to be on that game. You know, they want to be with friends. You know, but now it's more so, you know, Mom, can they come here? You know, the conversations, like I said just before, is so different. It's like they matured overnight. Like it's just crazy of how my babies done grew up within a month. Because at first the questions that my husband may ask them about life, they didn't know how to answer that. They wasn't unsure about what we were asking them. Now it's like they're more open. Oh, yeah, this is where I want to go to school, Mom. This is what I want to do. You know, I'm going to stay home. You know, Mom, what's going on now with our situation? What are they saying? Is they still going to give us the apology, Mom? What's going on? Like, they're more vocal, and now we just have to talk more. And I love it, though. I love that I'm able to reach my boys because I wasn't able to reach them before. They are afraid to leave home, and if they are together, they want everybody here, or they want to be where everybody is, like in one group. They don't be really wanting to go nowhere unless it's practice or home or a game. But I would say, maturity-wise, it has grown them all up. I will say that. And it makes it a lot easier as parents to be able to now sit down, not seeming that we're chastising them about what's going on, but we can actually hold this conversation, and they're listening and they're understanding every day, because we get the same questions every day. If it's not from one of my sons, it's from another. So it's, I don't know. It's just it's a little different. It's a lot of it's different.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in? Just introduce who you are before you start speaking.
Hi, Keisha. And I feel the same way too. Like, it did bring us a lot closer. And the conversations too. Like, Damari asked me, my 13-year-old asked me, why did they do this to us? Did we did anything wrong? You know, I had that conversation with him, and it is a lot different, and not understandable neither for them neither. Like, they just, I mean, like we just don't know.
This is Chandrika, and my son Skylar, he's 14. And before this happened, Skylar was like my outgoing kid. He was my kid that always wanted to be out and about. I told him to be home at 7. If it was 7:05, I'm out there looking for him. But he wasn't nowhere but around the corner playing basketball, or in the church parking lot down there playing football somewhere, or doing something. He always wanted to be out and about. Now that this happened, he always in the house. He go to practice, he go to school, and he come home, and then he go to sleep. You know, we come over to Quetta's, he'll play basketball out here with the boys, you know, and all kind of stuff. The other night, I shouldn't be telling nobody this, but I had some old chicken, and it was smelling. And I told him, I said, well, go take it out to the alley because the animals can eat it up. And he said, what? I'm going out in that alley? He said, the police might ride through the alley, Mom, and it's dark.
Well,
you know, and he was my one that never had no fear. This little boy, I had to tell him, would you just sit down? Come on, you know, he's done things that my 18-year-old hasn't done. My 18-year-old used to be like, wow, you know, he was such an outgoing, you know, awesome kid, and now he's totally different. You know, I love it. I'm not going to say I don't because he's in the house all the time. I'm not always like, okay, where's Skylar? Especially in the summertime. You know, he stays somewhere doing something, playing some type of sport. One time I found him at the pool. He was down there swimming. He, you know, going to have fun. Now, I don't think this summer is going to be like that for him, and it kind of bothers me a little bit. it kind of bothers me, you know. But I do like the fact that it's brought us closer, you know, like Jaquetta and like Keisha said, it's brought us closer. And, you know, everywhere he goes, anything he does, he's like, okay, Mom, I'm going to go out on the driveway and play ball. Like, he's telling me every single move when he does make a move, like he got to want to make sure I'm watching him. So I know something is bothering him. So that makes me, you know, upset a little bit. But we make it day by day. It's going to get better.
So let me ask you guys, have you guys sought professional counseling for the boys as yet, therapy, let them talk with someone about their fear? Because it does sound like it might be, you know, something that's going on with them, making sure that they're not suffering from PTSD.
This is Jaquetta. My boys have, my 14 and 12-year-old has a counseling Tuesday. It will be their first appointment. And it will be Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
No.
Or do you plan?
This is Sean. No, I'm not going to set my son up with, you know, any of that. You know, honestly, when I speak to him about it, I don't know if he, you know, even really gets all that. We've never had to deal with nothing like this. So I think he opens up to me, and I think when he gets, you know, when he talks to me, and I feel for now, you know, I'm going to try to make that work because I do see it working. And, you know, in the future, if I see, you know, that he might need it, then I will seek it for him.
Right. So, I mean, because the question becomes, like, how do we reclaim our children's childhood? You know what I mean?
Right.
Reclaim their childhood back. And I want to open it to the community as well, from the moms on the call. You know, in talking with these moms, like, does anyone have any questions or how we can help formulate an action plan to help these moms, and how we can talk among each other as a community so that we can make sure that our boys stay boys and they stay babies, they stay children. Does anyone have any comments, thoughts? You can probably start the *6 your phone.
Hi, this is CK. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks. I'm in the subway. I just wanted to say that I think that the way these boys have responded is really a testament to the parenting they've received, because the fact that it drew them closer to their families means they know that that's a safe and sheltering place for them. Sorry, it makes me emotional. And, you know, boys having this kind of experience could end up becoming sort of hardened and cynical and destructive or self-destructive. But as painful as it is to see them kind of suffering from PTSD, the fact that they're bringing it home, it's really great.
Yeah, it is, because a lot of times you don't want our kids to hold things in, you know. Sometimes you have that where something will happen to boys or something will happen to our children, and they'll hold things in and won't talk to us about it, and then they suffer silently, which is something that I don't want. You can make sure that you mute yourself if you're not talking in case you're in a loud background. And I've seen it so many times in the parents and the families that I work with myself as a parent coach, that so many of our children suffer silently. You know, I mean, even just being in a community that has a lot of violence. I've worked in urban communities where you have a lot of children who hear gunshots all the time, and some of them, they still get scared when they hear it, and then you have other children where it's just nothing but a Tuesday when they hear a gunshot. So we don't want our kids to become desensitized to violence. And so we want to make sure that they're talking about it and having conversations about it. Does anyone else have any other comments, questions for the moms or for Sanya?
Hi, this is Tammy. I have one question. How has the community supported you and the elected officials? And, you know, have they reached out to you? Have they offered support? Has there been town hall meetings about this in order to address this issue with the police in your area?
We had a few organizations that has reached out. We have had the Micah Center, which is a Christian-based organization. We have had the Link Up, which is a community center. We've had the radio stations, 97.3, reach out to us. He wants to throw our boys a reception to where they are being recognized for how they act. He said that he wants the community to be able to donate to their college fund. We had a date, but we had to cancel that date because of AAU tournaments and birthday parties. It was actually supposed to be today. So we had the NAACP that also reached out here, the Grampus chapter. But once the Mob United reached out to us, we haven't really been in contact with any of those groups. I've talked to Allison from the Micah Center, who's going to help out with the prayer rally we're going to have here on May 9th. But other than that, we found comfort with you all. So this is where we've been. We really haven't been reaching out to anyone in the community. No one has really reached out to us at all.
Hi, this is Judy.
I'm sorry. That's also an issue as well. There are too many people who disconnect from this issue, including in our own community, and that's a culture that has to be changed as well.
I feel like the NAACP to link up and the Micah Center, which she reached out to me after the fact. This is Jaquetta speaking, by the way. I feel with those groups, they had an agenda from the beginning, and they were trying to push something that didn't have anything to do with our boys, but can also benefit here in our community. But they used the highlight of the 5 unarmed boys held at gunpoint to try to push the situation. They end up going on TV before they even contacted us and showed the clipping of our boys being detained by the Grampus Police Department. So when they did that, we actually had a meeting with them that Monday after. They did this on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and the news came out. So that Monday when we met with them, and they also held a rally on the behalf of our boys, and our boys wasn't even invited, nor were us as parents invited to this. So that Monday we spoke to them because we initially had a meeting with them because Robert S., which is our Kent County Commissioner, he has been reaching out to us, so he has. He's been in contact with my husband. He let us know that they wanted to meet. So when we met with them that Monday, we discussed with them that, we wanted to know why we wasn't contacted. Why is it that, you guys did these things? Because we didn't expect to see our boys in that light. That's one thing that we wanted in the beginning was we didn't want the media. We didn't want them to be shown on national TV for them to have to go to school and have to deal with it with their peers. But it happened. So I got the impression from Clee Jackson, and I'm going to say his name because he's our NAACP director, that he didn't like the fact that we had a voice. He didn't like the fact that we were speaking on behalf of our boys and on the behalf of us as parents. He wanted to take the show. And ever since that day, he even walked out the meeting early. He scheduled this meeting at 6. This man was gone before 7, said he had another meeting to attend. So I knew then that he wasn't his body language, everything that he did, he wasn't the person that needed to be even in the highlight with our boys, trying to help us because he had his own agenda. So we left that situation alone, and he has yet to reach back out. I mean, his comment was, well, as the NAACP, we have to do this because they're waiting to hear from us. That was his comment to us.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like, I can definitely see how you think it was his own agenda. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I had a question. My question was in regard to the moms, how the boys are, how have they been in terms of in school? Is there have they found a safe place? I know you mentioned them wanting to stay home and not really go out, but how has it been with them returning back to school after this incident? Have they gotten support with their peers? Because sometimes, you know, in your peer circle, kids find comfort. How has it been in school for them?
This is Jaquetta again. When they first went back to school and they first, you know, it was on the media. See, they had two situations. The very first time it came on the media, they got the support from their peers, you know, I believe. They come home saying, you know, the kids like, oh, I see you on TV. Are y'all okay? You know, Facebook, people kept sharing things on Facebook. Their Snapchat, all, you know, the social media stuff that they got going on right now. You said the teachers opened them in with open arms, hugging them, saying that they were sorry. But once the body cam came out, it got a little different for them. Now they can actually, it got personal, you know, because it actually showed, you know, the first video that came out, it was a distance. They really couldn't see what was really going on. But when they showed the officer's body cam, it got a little personal. And then it started changing, at least for my boys, for them. My 14-year-old, a boy walked behind him, put his arms behind his back, and told him, I'm not the police. For my 12-year-old, he's saying because he's became a meme, now it's a joke at school.
Wow.
It done went from a positive to a negative. But that's where that growth comes in at, because I commend my boys because they just grew on me in a month. Normally situations at school could have went differently, but my 14-year-old, he thought before he reacted. Somebody putting your arms behind your back trying to hurt you and whispering in your ear could have went a different way.
Has the school provided any resources? I know they sometimes they have guidance counselors, school counselors, the school social workers, so that they can make sure to kind of do a check-in, have the teachers do a check-in, because, you know, emotionally sometimes these things, they have a way of, you know, continuing to speak up during the day, during the school week. Have they provided any resources? Have they sat down, or have you guys asked for a meeting to speak with school officials to be, you know, to continue to make sure that these incidents don't happen?
I personally haven't asked for any meetings, but not one of their schools have actually called. No.
Yeah, that can be very frustrating for the school to respond in a way. I mean, have anybody else felt satisfied with the way the schools are dealing with it, or no? Or do you feel like they could have done more?
This is Sean. My son's school did reach out to me in the beginning. You know, I had went there for a different reason, and they spoke with me. And then the principal is also my son's coach on the track team. So we talked, you know, a lot about it. And I try, honestly, to keep it away from the school because, you know, like she said, it's become a meme about it, and the kids got to take heat from all that. And I don't want my boy to let that interfere with his schooling or his grades. He's got good grades in the sport, so I don't want him to let any of that, you know, bother him. Honestly, when he first went back to school after it first happened, it bothered him, you know, and he bust a window at school accidentally, but he did, you know. And but they understood. They understood his frustration, but he's over that part now. So, but I've been trying to really keep it away from the school. But they do check in on me, and You know, I think they maybe think, I think maybe they feel like they want me to let them in more, but I haven't. I've just been, you know, keeping it away from school and keeping him totally focused on school.
Right. And it's sometimes, I think sometimes the schools don't know how to handle it either. I mean, there's times when this might be a situation where they've never dealt with something like this, so they don't know what to do or how to handle it.
Right. This is quite and that was my thing. I didn't have no ill feelings about them not contacting me. I just, you know, because I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them not contacting me. You know, it would be nice if someone did, but I'm okay with that. You know, it takes a village, and they have had a lot of their coaches talk to them. They have had a lot of different other people that's personal in their lives having those conversations with them. You know, I'd rather it be family than it be people that they don't know, somebody that they can open up to.
Right,
so,
right, exactly.
They've been able to have those other conversations with grandparents. They've been having those conversations with coaches, cousins, uncles, you know. And, you know, as moms, we have became a lot closer. And whoever they gravitate around, our boys has gravitated around. So they have on all three with all three moms, you know, we all have our set of family outside of the moms, you know. So when the group is with one mom, they have that conversation with whomever they're with, you know, and I'm okay with that because it takes a village, you know. When they're with me as family visit, you know, they're having that conversation with them, you know, asking them questions, telling them, you know, their perspective on things, and I'm okay with that, you know, and they're okay with that. So, you know, we're trying to do it the best that we can, and more conversations, you know. At first I felt less conversations would help, but now I know the more conversations that we have is helping. And, you know, we're woke now. We wasn't woke at first. We was napping, but we all the way woke on what's going on, and we're making sure that they are too as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I think that the fact that, you know, so many of us don't recognize how much we have to embrace our boys with this, because when they go out into the world, we're not always with them, and we don't always know what they see and what they perceive. And I do think that kids have this innocence about them in the early years, but as they get older and they even see things that happen on television, they get a different sense of what's real. You know, I mean, I was even sharing with the group last week. We had a flat tire, and we had to wait for a police officer. And my prayer while I'm waiting for the cop to come was, please let this man be nice. Please don't let him be nasty. You know what I mean? Like, please don't let him be disrespectful. You know, because we have so many cases where somebody just had their car on the side of the road, and then they get a nasty cop. You know, there's been cases where people have died from getting a nasty cop because they were on the side of the road because their car was pulled over and something was wrong. So, and, you know, after the guy walked away, my 9-year-old was like, we should have more cops like that. And I just felt so bad because that's his innocence, you know. So, you know, as moms, we have to embrace our boys, and we have to make sure we have those conversations. And I agree with you. More conversations, the better. Does anybody else have any comments?
Kamari, I think you made a really good point there when you said that your son actually acknowledged that the police officer was nice and we needed more like him. And I think it's interesting because in reading Sanya's book, that's one of the things that she kind of finishes off with, the fact that not all police officers are bad. Sanya, can you share with us a little bit, like, just the reason why you decided to kind of end the book on that note?
Yeah, and, you know, and that's interesting because I have gotten a lot of feedback. There's that one image in the book where it's a protest with I don't know if you have that one to put up on the screen or not, but it's a protest with the Black Lives Matter and the police. And so the caption says, "What about the policemen, Mom? I thought they were all good guys." if they don't like us because we're black, what matters? Not our lives. And so I said that because I feel like a lot of, little brown and black boys are seeing the TV and seeing what's on the news and thinking, are they not liking me just because I'm black or brown? And so I felt like it was very important to let them know, you have a right to feel this way. I understand why you feel this way, but please understand that all policemen are not bad, that they have families, that they're moms and dads, and they want to get home safely, and first and foremost, it is their job to protect and serve, but unfortunately, sometimes you do have officers who have PTSD, who have experienced something bad, maybe within the African-American community, and they're bringing that with them on the job. And so another goal, something that I'm working towards, is to work with law enforcement so that they can see, hey, we're doing our part on our end, trying to, make sure our boys are doing what they need to do. But I need law enforcement to do their due diligence and do, what they need to do on their end. Make sure these officers are getting the counseling that they need, that they're not just put back on the streets too soon after experiencing, the things that they go through. So, so to answer your question, yes, I do want to make sure kids know that all policemen are not bad, but at the same time, there are those out there who are going to treat you some kind of way just because of the color of your skin. And no, it's not because you've done anything wrong. They just have their own issues that, unfortunately, maybe they have not worked out amongst themselves.
Right. And I think it's also important for the officers to be a part of the community, to know the community that they're policing as well.
Yes.
That particular officer was from our community. We actually were talking while we're sitting there waiting for the tow truck, and he's telling me how he's got 2 boys. They go to Bethlehem Catholic, and he's like, we're just like talking. So I was just like so grateful that my 9-year-old would see that interaction. You know what I mean? Because he's talking about how oh my goodness, we were talking about how expensive it is for certain things. He's just like, oh my gosh, and I've got 2 kids in Catholic school, and we're talking about his kids, and so it's just it's so good for us to have those conversations and that type of image, opposed to that negative image that a lot of our kids see.
Yeah, and I don't know if the things that are going on right now, I don't know if that's going to inspire more kids to want to, grow up and become policemen so that they can do that and police our communities, or is this just turning our kids against law enforcement altogether?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think a lot of children shun away because of the negative way that they handle our communities. I think that they're not interested because they think that they're nasty or mean.
Right.
I was very grateful when my 9-year-old, after he left, said, "Mommy, I want to be a cop." He said that as soon as he walked away from the car. So, it's good that he saw that interaction, because I know a lot of kids had that constant negative interaction with police officers, and they don't want to be a police officer. But I think we all should be a part of that police force.
Yeah.
That's a really great point, too. It's when they're young, they always seem like they want to be police officers and they want to have jobs like that. And it's at that young age, I personally feel like now we need to share the talk with them. Can you give us, Sanya, what your opinion is on how early we should be having this talk? When is it too early? When is it safe?
Yeah, and that, when I was writing the book, again, I wanted to do a children's book because I do think that this conversation is happening so much sooner because our kids are exposed to so much. And so it's hard for me to put a number or an age on it because, it's not like when I was younger and we could just sit around and watch TV and you only saw certain things when the 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock news came on. Now the news is 24 hours. Our kids are on, watching when their parents are on Facebook, or they're on there themselves and they're seeing all these things that are happening. So I really think you just have to kind of gauge it on your own. I'm hoping that this book is at least a way to make it a little easier for parents to bring this conversation to their kids, because it can be a scary conversation. And you're right. When they're 5 or 6, they may say, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a fireman. But now when they're seeing what they're seeing on TV, they have these different ideas of our policemen. So I guess I can't give an exact number or an exact age. I think everybody has to kind of use their own discretion with their own kids. But again, where we used to have this talk just when kids were starting to drive, now we've got to make sure they know what to do if they're approached by police officers, if they're just walking down the street. And thank God these Michigan moms had already had these conversations with their kids, and they didn't run, and they did, comply. And that's a hard thing to do, too, because if it had been another cop, that could have been a cop who would take it a step further, and thank goodness that didn't happen, and go off with shooting the gun. I'm so glad that did not happen. But, thank God these moms had already had this conversation with the kids, and they did comply, and they did lay down. It was hard to watch.
I can imagine. I can imagine. That must be very hard to watch. Does anyone else have any questions or comments so we can get ready to end our call?
I have one. This is Judy calling. In listening to the conversation and I'm hoping that maybe the call center can figure out a way when we're responding to police departments that we convey to them that incidents where the child gets home safe doesn't mean that the child doesn't get home psychologically damaged.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think there's a piece of this experience that the police, they're not being accountable in many circumstances, but there needs to be a voice for the actual trauma itself. Like, that's a piece that I would like to talk about, how we include that when we make our calls, or if there's a separate call that comes later. That's it.
You are so right. I think we have time for one more question. Does anyone have one final question? Or if our speakers, if you have any final comments you'd like to share? Anyone?
Hi, this is Jamila calling from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hello.
This is very hard for me, and I'm very emotional, and I just thank the moms for actually, having the courage to come and talk to us about this. But, just listening to everything, I have so many emotions, and I just, think as moms, I think we need therapy or just some type of social work just to help us cope with just having this as a reality every single day. I really don't have anything else to say, but thank you for your time.
Yeah, one of the main things that one of the main things that I was saying before was if we see that our kids are struggling, we've got to make sure we give them some kind of support, counseling, therapy, that's one of the biggest concerns that I always see, they're very happy that the moms are doing that. If you could mute yourself if you're not talking, please. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to just repeat that. One of the biggest things that I got from the conversation was that, that the moms are making sure that their children have, resources, and whether it's in the school or whether it's out of the school. Because one of the biggest things that I see with parents and families that I work with is that we have to make sure that our children have resources when they're struggling. We don't want our kids to suffer in silence. We don't want them to not talk when there's something going on. So I'm very grateful that the moms are reaching out to their communities, to schools, persons in the community that can talk to their children, family members who can continue having those conversations with them, because that's one of the biggest things that's going to make the difference, that's going to be the difference in our children's lives. Making sure they can talk about it and know exactly what to do. So thank you so much for that conversation, ladies, and thank you so much for your questions.
And thank you, Kamari, for your moderating the conversation. That was wonderful. This is Tapelsha again. I just want to thank our guests so much for coming on, Sanya, Jaquetta, Akeisha, and Sean. We really appreciate you taking this time to spend with us and to share your experiences and your insights. It was very helpful, and we are all in this together, just trying to figure it out. So we really appreciate you We stand with you. Our organization is all about everything we've been talking about, being a resource, being that support, providing the information that we need to navigate being a mom of a black son. And what Jamila, I believe it was, just said is very true. If you read the op-ed I did for the Root when I first started the group, I literally described being a mom of a black son as mob disorder because of the stress and the pressure and the frustration that we feel in going on this journey. So we're trying to address all of that in this group. That's why health and wellness is a component of the group, in addition to the fight we have to take care of ourselves and our mental health and the mental health of our sons and whole family as well. So with that, I would like to encourage everyone who hasn't already, please register on our site, because that's how we're staying in communication with everyone. If you're a mom of a black son, join the group. If you're a supporter, you can subscribe to our email list and or donate, because that is how we're staying afloat and how we will communicate with people going forward. It's very hard to get messages through on Facebook. So if you haven't already registered, please go to mobunited.org. And again, we just want to thank you. We'll be here again in 2 weeks for our next national call. And we just want to close out with a closing prayer by Nashiva Starr. Nashiva Starr, don't forget to star 6, because everyone has been muted again. Okay. Chris, would you like to close this out?
Thank you, Father God, for allowing our vision to continue to move forward to protect our boys. I ask you to protect all the moms that joined us today and all of the 170,000 plus concerned moms that follow us on our page. We have much work to do, Lord, but we know with you at our side, as continuing to be the high priest and being the Alpha and Omega of all things, you're in control. So, Father, I ask you to go with these moms, cover these boys, continue to bless the Michigan moms, Jaquita, Sean, Aikisha, and all the moms in Grand Rapids where the report has shown that they have been living in injustice. But we know that there is justice if we continue to look to you, God, as our high power. We thank you for this day. We thank you for continuing to show us the light. We thank you for the blessing of getting the warrant for the murder charge for Jordan Edwards, Lord. We trust you. We're not going to believe what we've shown, Lord, and what the media has shown us in other cases. We're trusting that justice will happen with the Michigan boys as well as in Jordan Edwards, Lord. We're trusting you. We're claiming victory. We're claiming mobilization, Mom, with 170,000 moms standing in formation for change for our boys. We know, Lord, that if not us, then who? If not now, then when? We can do this as we band together, as you said in your word, Lord. You said, where more than 1, 2, or 3 are gathered, it shall be done, and you shall be present. So we are trusting you that you're going to protect these moms on this call. We're going to protect these mothers across the country who are raising black boys in a system that does not see them as children or see them as men. We know different. I know the number is now 336 young men who have lost and boys who have lost their life, but we are claiming victory. We do not have a spirit of fear with this group. And for DePelsha, we ask you to bless her and her family. We ask you to bless all the leadership committee, everyone that has volunteered to get us to this point. We're embarking on a 1-year anniversary of a vision, of a belief of moms coming together for change. So I ask other mothers to encourage them to move forward with us, because as together as one, we can bring about change and we can create a future. Our boys can grow up and see their dreams, and they can grow up to become and walk in the destiny that you have laid before them, Lord. So I am closing out this prayer, Lord, and we are all agreeing and to trust that you are the control. You have the last say. We may not see it. Our eyes cannot see what you can see, Lord, but we are trusting that we've solved this issue. We've gotten protection for our boys. And for this, Lord, I ask you to bless these moms again and I thank you, and I say this in Jesus' name, the King of all kings, Prince of all princes. Lord, I thank you. Amen.
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 Amen, and thank you. Have a great weekend, ladies. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Mob United.
Thank you.
Thank you.